We are live. Let's get ready to podcast.
Fire it up.
Welcome back to another live and amplified Indie Fusion podcast. I'm your host, Tom Quiet, and we're back at it again with another amazing podcast. Today, we have a very special guest joining us. We have Kylie Fox. How's it going?
Hello, Tom. It's going great.
Glad to have you here.
Happy to be here. You know, it's a nice way to spend a Sunday afternoon talking about music and thinking about the Super Bowl.
Yeah. I'm still on the fence if I'm actually going to watch the Super Bowl this year, but it'll probably just be on in the background at some point. So
yeah, it's more about the finger food and the snacks. We just and seeing the friends. We've got chicken fried rice on the go here at our house, and yeah, I don't even know the teams that are playing.
So you're up in Canada. How's everything going up there? Are you guys freezing up there, or how's the?
We are freezing. So I live in Fredericton, New Brunswick, and there is a lot of snow. It actually snowed overnight, so we'll have to plow the driveway. Maybe that'll be Ryan's job.
Sure.
And everything's going well. We've got a great little music scene up here in Fredericton. I saw some concerts over the weekend. And it's like a awesome community, awesome place to live.
Nice. Who you said you went to some concerts? Was it like a lot of local people, or did you have somebody in town?
All local people.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. So we bopped around. There was about there's a lot of events going on this weekend. It's just nice in mid-February to go out. I think people are itching to see each other. Sometimes as a touring artist, I totally overlook the possibilities of shows in January and February because, well, it's a risk. If there's a big storm, you might have to cancel your show, and then you've put a lot of work into promoting something that doesn't happen.
Sure.
And people do feel inclined to stay home more when, it's a snowy night and it's cold. You want to stay home and you're going to watch your favorite Netflix show instead. That's a better alternative. It's so free, and everyone's worried about money right now in a big way. But no, it was really nice to see how many people were out to support new touring artists, kind of taking a risk. There's a big element of, not a big element, but there's an element of taking a risk on a new artist. Like if you hear about them, you go, it doesn't cost a lot of money because they're not your Taylor Swift of the world. Mm-hmm. They're just, they're still singing songs from the same place, which is, being human and loving music. And, it's a cool way to also just like, as when people are moving around in space, it's like you kind of feel like you catch them in a moment where they're like singing this particular lineup of songs on this snowy February night, and you know that the next night they're going to be up maybe in Nova Scotia playing. That's cool. I liked it.
Yeah, that's really cool. It's fun to kind of have that local scene that's very supportive, and just especially I'm not familiar with your hometown, so like I'm assuming it's rather small, I'm guessing, or
it's super small. There's no tall buildings.
Okay.
There's the north side of the river and the south side of the river, and everything feels like it's a couple blocks. Like you just walk. The river is the thing that is like, oh, going over the river. It's a ways to go, but it's not. It's all very, very compact. Everything that is happening in town is on one or two streets.
Fair.
Downtown.
Fair.
Mm-hmm.
Which makes nights out fun because you don't have to go very far. It's like you can park in one place, go do your thing, visit a bunch of different places, and then go back to your car,
Yeah, or ride your bike or take a bus.
That too.
Or, we could take the car, but then you run the risk of having to leave the car overnight, depending on what you're up to.
That's fair. Very fair.
But and also seeing a lot of people. I think that's the charm and the curse of living in a small town. Going to Toronto, I always get the feeling like, oh, I should be in a big city. Big cities are so much fun. Like there's some brooding artist, like you could romanticize the artist lives, like smoking in the doorways and going to like, there's so much music every night of the week. Like here we are, maybe Thursday, Friday, Saturday, but in Toronto, there's so many people, there's so much to do.
Hmm.
Um, and it's an exciting place to be. Here is very quiet, and
Fair.
I love it just as much.
Yeah. I mean, it's one of those things that like once you like start like touring and stuff like that, having that quiet place to kind of retreat to is probably the more welcomed um, commodity than living in like a city where it's like go, 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 go all the time, you know? So,
Yeah, yeah, you're totally right. It's nice to have a house in a yard and kind of a place to revolve around
mhm.
when I'm touring.
Yeah, it's one of those deals where it's like having a place where people know who you are, and it's not like, oh, it's Kylie the musician. Oh, let's treat her differently. No, that's just the neighbor. One of those deals. So,
Yeah, yeah. Or I guess it's easy in a small town to be a big fish.
mhm.
Um, like I do. I'm a Dolly Parton impersonator,
Mm.
and we've been putting on the. Do you know the Kenny and Dolly Christmas record?
I'm familiar with it. Yes.
Yeah. I believe in Santa Claus. Well, we cover their album at Christmas time and we
Mm.
tour it around. And now people kind of in the community are starting to know who I am because of that,
Nice.
because it was such a smashing success. So
Mm.
it's cool going to the grocery store and having someone be like, hey, you're Kylie. No, and that probably wouldn't happen in Toronto. So, I mean, that's also, I mean, it's fun and strange.
Yeah. Fair enough. Fair. If you start getting recognized in Toronto, that's a whole different level of things that may not be not a lot of people are prepared for, right? So
Right. But I did get recognized in Texas by you
nice.
on
Yes.
Instagram.
Yes. Yes, you did. You did. You did. So kind of taking a look at you, where'd you kind of get introduced to music? Like where does that kind of come into play?
Well, I guess in my household growing up, my dad was the youngest of nine
Mm.
kids, and everyone in this family was really musical. It was just like ingrained in them. That's how they hung out and they bonded, and they were super poor, but they had a piano. And they would just sit around the piano and sing with their guitars. Elvis and Gordon Lightfoot. And, um, my dad was the youngest, but I watched him when I grew up. I watched him kind of lead all the Fox family parties
Hmm.
with his guitar, um, and that showed a lot of leadership for me. That showed a lot of like that's how we as a family were showing each other love. My mom, on the other hand, was really good at making up silly songs for every activity: bath time, pajama time, going this type of lunch, going to this type of place, constantly singing. I think my mom has ADHD. And I only anyway. I'm not. Let's not go there. But she's constantly singing,
Yeah.
and it's awesome. Um, and I can't believe I just said that. And I think between those two things, growing up, I was always inclined to make music. And they put me into theater school when I was 6. So suddenly I became inclined to perform on stage in front of an audience and get clapped for. And that's a horrible thing to do to a kid because I loved the teamwork of being in a play with a bunch of people singing together and having the energy transaction of the audience. So I was never going to have a normal job.
Okay.
And that's how it started. I started writing songs. I have books and journals of songs when I was a kid. But I guess I never really thought that this was like something I could do.
Fair. Sure.
But for some reason, I thought theater was something I could do. So I went to theater school, and then I studied opera. And then all the while, I'm writing songs, and then I just decided to drop out of everything and put out a record, and I
Mhm.
did. And
Nice.
and then I started to tour, and now I've put out. I guess that was an EP I put out. Now I've put out 2 full-length records, and now I'm touring Canada. I haven't played any shows in the United States. Hard to tour in the United States. But yeah, lots of
Yeah.
I've gone across the country here.
Let's preface that it's hard to tour in the United States legally if you're not from the United States.
Yeah, yeah, but I don't want to risk. I don't want to risk any under
Right.
the table
Right.
because then you just spoil it for yourself. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know the deal. But if I got caught, I might not be allowed back in for years and years and years. And
Oh
there's
yeah.
a big market down there, big market.
Mhm. Well, it's that, and because I had a somebody that I had on the podcast a while ago. She was from the U.S., but she had married somebody from the UK, and they were trying to get that whole visa situation figured out and how that was going to work. And so she ended up having to move to the UK because the US wasn't like approving the marriage and visa and like that whole situation. And so she spent like 2 or 3 years not touring in the US. Like she was doing pretty decent shows in the US, and she was like, yeah, I wanted to be with my husband. So I went to the UK and we lived there. And, I was like, well, I not saying America's perfect by any stretch of the imagination. They've got some kinks to work out, and you know, so I feel you on that one.
Yeah, the visas are very expensive.
Yeah, 100%, and they're hard to get, very hard to get.
Yeah.
So, oh, so you said you were a theater kid growing up, and you thought that was going to kind of be your path. Why was that at the time? Obviously not now, but at the time was why was that seemed more appealing, but writing your own music and singing and performing that didn't.
Because what I was doing the most of was theater
Mm-hmm.
and being in musical theaters. Um, and I think that was the type of that storytelling through song was something that maybe prefaced how I ended up turning my life into my own musical.
Fair.
And I guess once I got into the theater world, I did realize that as a singer songwriter, you can write your own songs. You don't have to
Mm-hmm.
wait for a casting agent to decide that you're the right height or the right fit for a role.
Mm-hmm.
You can kind of plow your own way.
Yeah.
And it's also a way to be an entrepreneur in a way that being in theater isn't. I don't think, as an independent artist, I have a manager,
Mm-hmm.
and we contract some people out depending if we need a publicist, or I have a stylist. I have, you take in the team members that you need, but ultimately I am a business, and I need to think about it that way for it to work. And it's icky sometimes because I'm an artist. That's what I am. But to make it work for a long time, I have to think smart.
Yeah.
Back to being smart. It takes a while to be smart too. I've been doing this
Yeah.
for a long time, and I've made a lot of like weird choices. When you're young, you don't necessarily think, or I didn't. When I was young, I didn't necessarily think that hard about money. I was like, this is something I want to do. That'll be fun. Let's go tour Vancouver
Mm-hmm.
Island, make no money, and have the best time. And
Yeah.
ultimately, all of those things generated songs because I was
Yeah.
having a really cool new experiences and writing about them. And those songs are on my albums. And so I'm not looking back in regret, but I'm looking forward with what are these things that I've learned from all the things that I've already done.
Right. 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 I think that's kind of the biggest thing that's holding Live and Amplified, like the brand and everything that we do from taking the next step is I like doing what I'm doing and I'm not overly concerned about the money aspect of it. But it also is like these trips that we want to take cost money. So we need to figure out how to make money so we can cover that, So,
Yeah. And then be a business so you can like claim your taxes and, not have to like it was validating for me when I
mm,
became officially a business, and I am doing all of my own like bookkeeping. So
mm,
I'm way more, I can really see where all the money's going. So
fair.
yes, things that I was doing like 6 years ago that were coming from a place of like, this is fun. This is exposure. This is
Yeah.
an experience. I'll, I'll pay it off later.
Right. Right.
Kind of that mentality. I mean, that is one nice thing about having, one of the many nice things about having a manager is that they can kind of see the big picture
Hmm.
and maybe pump the brakes here and there
Right.
when kind of an economic decision has to be made.
Fair. 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 You just made me realize I'm kind of a hypocrite now. Thanks. Thanks for that. So,
You're welcome.
It's because I sit here and I tell musicians that the best thing that they can do with their music is start treating it like a business and looking at it as a business. Yes, it's a creative outlet and it's fun and all these things, but you need to treat it like a business or you're never going to get anywhere. And here I am not even treating my own business like a business. So, yeah.
Well, someday you'll take your own advice.
Yes. Yes, yes. Honestly, it's probably I need somebody to tell. It'll probably be this podcast, you telling me to treat it like a business, for me to treat it like a business, even though, yeah. Anyways, so
Yeah, you should. And then you can go on those trips and get them,
yes,
maybe get something like maybe there's some sort of grant for small businesses that can fund your trip.
fund
I
my trip.
do a lot of what I do because of grants.
Nice.
Canada has amazing, amazing outlets for
Mm-hmm.
funding. This album cost so much money. Can't the government paid for it? Not the well, the Canada Council for the Arts. Of course, it was quite a lengthy application process, but
Mm-hmm.
we've also got provincial funding bodies. I've been so blessed. It also takes work ethic.
Mm-hmm.
You do have to sit down and write a grant, which takes hours and it's boring. And you have to talk about yourself and sell yourself and try to convince a jury that the art that you're creating is going to be bigger than you in that
Mm-hmm.
moment. And yeah, so maybe there's some grants out there that
Yeah.
you can write, because what you're doing is helping so many artists. You have a platform where we can come on and meet some new fans.
Yeah.
Yeah.
100%. And thinking about it, Texas does have a lot. Texas as a state has a lot of grants for small businesses, for businesses in general, for the arts and all that stuff. So probably need to look a little bit deeper into that one. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah. So, but thank you for bringing clarity to my life a bit, because I've
You're
been
welcome.
telling people all these things and then I just realized like I'm not even taking my own advice, so why would anybody else take my advice? So
Well, you know what else I say about what you're doing? You are faking it till you make it, which is Entrepreneur 101.
yes,
We're
that's
both
fair.
here just being ourselves.
Yeah,
But like no one knows the work that's going on behind the scenes. They just know what they're seeing in the moment. And
that's fair.
people that you're giving that advice to probably think that you do have a business. So
Fair.
yeah. So you're
Fair.
doing faking it till you make it. It's very valuable.
Yeah, it is. It is. Thank you so much for that. I appreciated that. So we're so kind of looking forward. You mentioned that you tour around Canada. How often are you playing shows right now? Are you playing pretty consistently, or are you kind of slow right now because it is February in Canada?
Slow right now because it's the winter and we have a tour. My tour that is starting on March 13th. So right now I
Yes.
am in a writing zone,
Nice.
which is really cool. Takes a lot of actually just takes a lot of routine management and being okay with not playing all the time. I really love to play all the time. Um, so I put out a record called Sequoia
Mm-hmm.
about a tree. And the tour is called There Are Only So Many Great Nights Tour. And it starts March 13th, and it's going to take me until probably mid-June.
Nice.
And I'm going to tour Newfoundland, Nova Scotia, PEI, and New Brunswick, and Ontario.
Nice. Staying busy then.
Staying busy. Yeah. Yeah, you got to stay busy and creative and keep refining how we sound and in the show and what we're wearing and all of it takes a
Yeah,
lot of work.
for sure. I got to tell you a funny little story. So I was listening to Alberta. Yeah, that was the song that was on. Is that I was sitting here listening to Alberta as I was waiting for you to jump back on, because like I don't know what chicken fried rice is, I tend to forget what time zones people are in, and I schedule things the wrong way. So strike two for me. But I was listening to Alberta, and you have this. I was listening on these headphones, and you have this like wood knocking sound. Like I that's how I'm going to describe it. Like it was like somebody knocking on wood that was playing out of this earphone. Like it was panned really far left or something. And I
Yeah.
thought somebody was knocking at my door. And so I got up and answered the door and nobody was there. And I was like, okay, that's weird. I sat down and I listened to it again, and I continued to listen to the song or whatever. And it started doing the knocking thing again. And I'm like, son of, and I got up and I started realizing like, oh, it's in the song. It's not, somebody's not knocking at my door. It's just,
Just really loud panned percussion.
yeah. It was like, it was a really cool sound, but for whatever reason, I thought somebody was
Funny when
knocking
that
at
happens. Yeah.
yeah. So, but it's a good song. It was that one I just happened to be listening to like right before you came in, and that whole situation unfolded, and I was like, okay, let's go back and listen to the whole song from beginning to end, and that's probably my favorite song on your album, your current album.
Cool. Thanks
So,
for saying that. I
yeah,
appreciate that. That's probably one of the oldest songs. There's two really old songs on there.
really.
Alberta, I wrote when I was a tree planter in British Columbia. Do you know about tree planting?
Well, I mean, I'm guessing you plant trees.
You plant like tiny little seedling. Not
Okay.
yeah, is that what they're called? What are they called?
Like,
They're tiny, but they're already so you've got like
okay.
maybe they're maybe 10 centimeters.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm talking
Okay.
in Canadian.
No, you're fine.
and they're saplings, and you put 400 of them in the bags that you tie around you like snap you clip them around your waist, and then you plant a tree every 2 steps with a tiny shovel, like a shovel like as long as your shin, maybe 2 feet 3 feet. And then you get paid like, I don't know, 12 cents a tree.
Nice.
And that's how a lot of cool Canadians pay off their undergrads. So I was planting trees in BC and Alberta, and planting in Alberta was depressing and I was homesick. So I wrote the song Alberta.
Nice. So I'm guessing you're doing something like that at like a national forest preserve or like a government property, or is it like donated property, or where are you kind of doing that stuff at?
It's all contract based. So, lumber is a huge industry up here. When they cut down the trees to make paper, homes, we have to go in, and it's like reforestation. So there's, many companies all across the country. The big one here in the Maritimes is called Irving. So if I was a tree planter here, Irving would cut down the trees, and then we'd go replant new Irving trees that they'd grow and cut down. There was also a time when we replanted a fire that was burned down in a forest fire in BC, and that was a completely different experience because there wasn't that much like schnarb on the ground. Like you didn't have to like there wasn't like a jungle gym of branches and basically shit you have to climb over. It was just all burnt and ash, and we had to wear hard hats, and the stumps of the trees they were still standing, but they were all just blackened, and you can just push them all over really easily. It was pretty dangerous.
Yeah.
And like really dirty, like we were all sooty, and you could really easily see the trees that we planted, which was a perk because you can't plant trees too close together or else you get in trouble and you have to go and replant.
Oh, fair. That seems like very physical labor, but very rewarding because you can actually kind of see the progress that you make throughout the day.
That's rewarding. I think the most rewarding thing about being a tree planter was how capable I felt. It's something that a lot of people can quit because it sucks, and it's mentally and physically difficult. And to go out there and every day from like 7 a.m. to 5 o'clock, you're just planting trees, and it's very monotonous, but you're like out in the woods and you feel kind of a sense of peace and freedom and clarity. So much clarity and presence. And you just feel strong, and you just have no weight on you by the end of the season. That's not true. Depends on what camp you go to, if they've got good food or not.
Sure.
But I think just the feeling that I was really strong and could do
Hmm.
anything was one of the best things that I got from tree planting.
Fair. And it seems like it inspired a song or two for you.
Many a song. As I said,
Many.
you're doing the same boring thing over and over and over all day, and you just exist in your mind. So
Hmm.
I've written a couple songs about tree planting.
Nice. And I mean, it's honestly that kind of feels like it works really well with musicians, just kind of being able to disconnect from this or, like any of the social media stimulation and just be out in nature and just be with yourself and have that repetitious thing to kind of get you in some kind of a flow state. Cause like I know when I'm at work and I'm just like got this constant rotation of like, okay, A's done, B's done, A's done, and just kind of doing one of these numbers. Like some of the stuff I think about and some of the stuff that comes out of my head is like, wait a minute, this is what I need to be doing is when I'm trying to be creative or whatever, is just find this one repetitious thing so like my physical can be satisfied. Like I always need to be doing something, but then it just kind of lets my mind run wild. So,
Yeah, it's like your subconscious.
yeah. Yeah, yeah.
I heard once that driving a car is a form of hypnosis.
Really.
Like, because your body just knows exactly what to do and what to be aware of and how to
Mm.
drive. And that's why your mind goes into a really good creative space. Sounds kind of dangerous, but
Right.
a lot of us do it around the highway.
Right. Well, I mean, I guess that explains like when I'm driving through West Texas, which is a lot of very long roads with nothing. Like it's like undeveloped land and you're driving through nothing. I do tend to also come up with a lot of like interesting ideas.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. It's good for that. Lots of
yeah.
driving songs in the world.
Oh, yeah. Now that you mention it, yeah, makes a lot of
Songs
sense.
that are good for driving and songs that were written while driving.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, lots.
Um, but speaking of like writing music and whatnot, where you mentioned that you're kind of more in a write of creative space right now. Are you working on new music? Are you strictly write? Like, where are you kind of at right now, creatively?
I'm writing new music. I am, as I live my life day to day, I might have an idea when I'm driving,
Hmm.
when I'm doing the dishes, and I will record it or write it down in my notes. And I've developed a list of these nuggets. And every day I have scheduled in maybe a 2 hour period while I'll take a nugget that has come to me
Hmm.
and I'll sit down and I'll try to work through it and see if there's something there.
Nice.
So, what's my nugget tomorrow? Tomorrow's nugget is, the word sourdough. I was like, how can I write a song with sourdough in it? Like a song about having a really good day
Hmm.
and having some sourdough. Maybe there's nothing there, but I'm sure I can find something, maybe.
Yeah.
And then the day after that is, I have this song. I am writing a lot about positive things. I think everyone
Nice.
needs that. And it goes, I hope you have a really good day. And I think it's catchy and cheesy. And I want them like a trademark. I want like a trademark song for people to play in the morning when they need to have a good day, like a
Nice.
pump up song. So that's the nugget for Tuesday.
I'm here
So
for that one.
I need routine and schedule. I need to know exactly what I'm doing. I would love to be an artist that could just like do things on a whim,
Hmm.
smoke a cigarette. That's not me. I have to be a star student. I have to know what I'm doing. I can't just. So I have a schedule. I have a writing schedule.
Fair.
And I have learned that you can be creative when you force yourself to be creative, as long as you give yourself time. Sit
Hmm.
down, think about sourdough for 2 hours, sourdough, and something will come out of it. Because you'll sit there and you'll be like, oh no, this is terrible idea, dumb. And then you'll have a breakthrough at some point. I learned
Right.
that through doing writing residencies where you just have this abyss of time, no chores to do. You're like, how am I gonna? What if I just freeze and can't write anything? Oh, you're gonna write a bunch. So
Right.
if there's any artists listening, that would be my biggest advice. Was just if you are frustrated that you can't find time to write, it's because you haven't scheduled it into your life.
And so from the songwriting routine, you'd mentioned that you said tomorrow was sourdough, right?
Yes.
I love that because in the like just looking at the word sourdough, that feels like a very scary word to write music about just because it's very like long and trying to find stuff that would work with it feels like it'd be a little bit harder. But I love that challenge for you. So
Well, I'll probably start by coming up with a list of images. Like
hmm
sourdough on its own, for me, if I was going to hear the song, if I was going to hear the word sourdough in a song, it would put me into like a farmhouse style kitchen. It would imply that the song was taking place in the morning.
hmm
It would apply that something was like a feeling of nurturing or caregiving. Like, is it homemade sourdough? Who are you? Are you making a sourdough toast? With like, who are you sharing it with? Who are you? Like, there's a gathering. You don't just have. I mean, a lot of people can just buy sourdough and eat it by themselves. My experience with sourdough is that my aunt always gets special sourdough when my
hmm
mom and I go to visit her, and then we have like special toast. So maybe coffee is another word. So the song will probably be like a folky little song about getting together.
hmm
Um, will I will think about rhymes for sourdough tomorrow.
Yeah, sure. That's I love that you are actively trying to find way or be proactive about writing music and being very digit. What's the word I want to use now? I've had it and then
I
it
thought you were
just
going to say digital.
I
It's like, I am so
diligent.
digital at writing songs.
No, diligent. That's the word I was looking for. I was trying to say diligent and then it came out digitant and I'm like, nope, that's not the word. I don't know what I'm trying to say over here. So diligent. I love that. And I feel like a lot of musicians, especially when they're starting out, need to kind of get into that habit of, because I feel like a lot of creatives, they fall in that headspace of, oh, well, I'll just write or I'll create when I'm inspired. But I feel like you also need to try and spark your own creativity by forcing yourself to be creative, if that makes
Mhm.
sense.
Absolutely.
So the fact that you kind of found a mechanism that works to help spark your own creativity is really cool.
Yeah. And it'll work for a while. And then I will, have a jumbly week and I'll feel all frazzled and I'll find a new routine. Like
Okay.
it's not one recipe for routine fits every week.
hmm
Also, I'm about to tour and like what's going to happen to my routine when that happens? Like, how am I going to make sure that all my bills are getting paid and
Right.
everything is like happening as it should while I'm also moving through space. Like, it's a lot.
Yeah,
But
absolutely.
yeah, as I said, I'm learning a lot.
But I know you got to get out of here in a little bit, so I don't want to keep you too much longer. But you mentioned that you got some new music kind of in the works, or not kind of in the works. What can you tell us about that?
Well, I'll start by saying that I put a record out called Sequoia in the fall,
hmm
and there's 11 songs on it. And I heard a story on the radio that there was a sequoia tree that was caught up in a forest fire, and firefighters stayed up all night trying to save the tree. And it had me thinking about how so often we forget to take care of all the big, beautiful, wonderful things around us. And sometimes it feels like we're kind of rushing in at the last second to take care of them. So a lot of this album is about gratitude. There's a song about Alberta. It's got kind of like some boppy songs that are like riddled with flutes and like lush saxophone solos. There's more folky moments. Um, and then there was a song on the album that didn't make the cut. We
hmm
decided we were going to not put it on. Sort of had to do with the flow of the songs, sort of had to do with the length of the album and how it would fit on a vinyl. So there is a song called Flying Dreams that we are releasing as a single, just as like a bonus track.
hmm
It might not ever be on a record now.
Nice.
because it kind of still lives in this world, but it does sound quite different than anything else. And it's a song called, well, I don't know, maybe some of your listeners can relate to this. I have flying dreams sometimes. So does my partner. A lot of people do. They're some of the best dreams to have because, and some of my flying dreams, there's like different ways you can fly, whether it's like sort of like filling a balloon with air and that can lift you up, or running really fast and then taking off. Like there's, anyway, so the song is called Flying Dreams, and it's a song about seasonal depression. And it's a beautiful, kind of more of a piano ballad.
Yes.
And we're gonna be releasing a music video for that. That's kind of what's holding up the release date. Kind of getting this video together. I have a collaborator who makes most of my music videos.
Nice.
And she is a silly goose, and together we made a video for my song called Flush with a puppet that looks like my fiance Ryan, who's also my drummer. And yeah, for this one, we're gonna kind of create some sort of space, like I'm an astronaut kind of
Nice.
world.
Yeah. I love it. I love it. I will, once that music video drops, I will add it to the music video critique video series that I do, which is I studied film. So like I started doing music video critiques for independent artists. And it's become a fun thing that I do now. So I will add that one to the list.
That sounds fun.
Yeah.
I want you to tear my video apart.
It's honestly, it doesn't go that, like I've had some people that are like, honestly, just rip it. Like I'm here for that. And I'm like, but if it's good, I'm going to say it's good. Like, I'm not going to sit here and just like nitpick things that don't really matter. Like if it's a good video, it's a good video, you know, it doesn't matter. So Flying Dreams, that's the next upcoming release. And was it originally going to be a part of the album, or was it just kind of written around that same time frame that it, yeah.
I thought it was going to be part of the album, and we recorded it the same weekend that we recorded the album. And it was written, it was all of that. Yes. Not until we kind of got to okay, we're pressing vinyl, we're about to release this. What's our plan? What's our strategy? Did we have the conversation about leaving it out? Because I still believe in albums a lot. I love listening. My favorite way to listen to music is to listen to 10 songs in a row of the same artist and hear the stories and hear how the songs are similar and how they're different ideas, I love that. And it feels productive to me. Like it feels like reading a book. Like I listened to that whole album in a way that listening to one new single doesn't. Anyway, and having a list of songs on your album is just like writing a set list. You have to bring the energy up, bring it down, let it breathe, bring it up again, and then end on a way that is emotionally satisfying, whether it's kind of something inward or something like extreme climactic. And then you also have to consider that a lot of people that stream your album may only pay attention for the first 3 to 4 songs. So you do want to hit your best songs at the start of the record, but you also want to tell the story. And when it came to it and where I wanted to put Flying Dreams, what made it sense, I felt like there was a big lull in the record. And I felt like Flying Dreams was a strong enough song to take away. It's also the most obscure sonically, not obscure, like obscure in relation to that record. It doesn't sound folky or jazzy or like indie rock. It sounds like a pop synth song, which is totally different. So we're going to put this out probably in March.
Nice.
Hopefully in March. We're kind of around the tour to pump that up.
Fair. Well, I can't wait to hear it because it's kind of fitting the vibe of the music that I'm listening to right now and the feels that I'm in, like just kind of the music that's gravitating towards me right now. So it'll automatically get added to the playlist and probably be in rotation for the next 6 months.
Great. I love that. Thanks so much, Tom.
Yeah, absolutely. But before we wrap this up here, if anybody wants to check out your music, social media, shows, that fun stuff, where's the best place to find you?
Instagram, Kylie Fox. Well, it's _ Kylie Fox _. Follow me there. I love Instagram. I will take you along there. I try my best to, upcoming dates. And, if you ever wake up in the morning and you're like, Man, I wish I had a really good newsletter to join. I have a great newsletter. Just go to my website, kyliefox.ca. I put it out once a month, and I don't talk about music. I'll tell
Nice.
you, I'll tell you the one new artist that I'm listening to that I'm liking, but I'll
Mm,
mostly just give you a little journal entry of what I've done in the month.
nice.
Yeah.
I dig it. I 100% dig it. And then I can't wait to hear the future song, the morning wake up anthem that you were talking about earlier,
Sourdough.
and sourdough. And, I'm waiting to hear all these brand new songs coming out. And it sounds like it's going to be a fun 2025.
Yeah, I think it will be.
Nice. Awesome. Awesome. But once again, thank you so much for joining us. It's been an absolute blast. We went a lot of places that probably shouldn't have, but that's my bad. So
Hey, I'm for it. I'm all about it. This was
hey,
like no other.
I appreciate that.
All right,
Awesome.
take
Awesome.
care, Tom.
Yep. Everybody, thank you so much for joining us, and we will catch you all later. Thank you so much for joining us on today's episode of Live and Amplified's Indie Fusion podcast. If you'd like to support anything Live and Amplified does, please follow us on all of our social media platforms at Live, the letter N, Amplified. You can find us on Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, Instagram, YouTube, Threads, any of them, all of them, at Live, the letter N, Amplified. And if you would like to buy any official Live and Amplified merch, you can do so at our merch shop, link in the description below. Once again, thank you all. Have a great day.